Hey, it's KR King of D&D Homebrew offering you today my 5 tips on being a first-time GM. It's actually 5.5. I have one at the end. I didn't want to put that in the thumbnail, 5.5. That leads to some other... This wasn't about the new edition of D&D. But the thing about this is, as a GM, I want you, whoever you out there, to become one because we need GMs, I think. There's arguments about this back and forth, the GM shortage, but I've just seen that it's hard to find people to play. So you want more people to experience that. And I think it's really good to see the game from the other side of the screen, as it were. It helps you, gives you perspective. So I'm going to give you these 5 tips so that, it eases some of the difficulty of that very first session. And overriding all this is one of the mantras that I've done for the very first video I ever did in this whole channel, which is to say, keep things simple, right? Always be thinking, what's the simplest thing? So, like let's say that the normal GM that you have in your group can't make it one week and the other players can, and you say, hey, I want to run something. I want to be a GM and run something just for this 1 week, okay? Just one time, right? Keeping it simple. So rule number 1 is to run a system you know well. Okay, if you're playing 5th edition, if that's the only system you know and you want to GM for the first time, I would play that system. I would not try something else. Now, some people will say, well, it gives a chance. Let's say you ran something at a convention and the players may be interested, gives you a chance to do that. The thing is, you're putting all sorts of pressure on yourself in addition to being a GM by not knowing the system that you don't need, right? And the other thing about running this, you're not going to use, almost always, you're not going to use the characters that are in the current campaign to run a one-shot because, if they get killed or something, right, it could disrupt the other campaign. So what you're going to do is give players an opportunity. I'm running a ranger in this campaign, but I've always wanted to run a monk. Never had a chance. Well, roll one up. Run it in this one-shot that I'm doing, right? That gives people, that's an incentive for people to do it. You can have pre-gens, but if people don't want to spend the time to roll it up, but a lot of times they will. If they're experienced at the game, I can roll up a 5th edition character, no problem. Just play something you're very familiar with so that there's no discomfort, there's no, and everyone can just play it instead of trying to learn it. Because being a first-time GM with a system that you know very well keeps things simple. And rule number 2 is to keep things small. It's kind of a corollary to keeping it simple, I guess. I just want to run a one-shot, something that is very simple, designed for if you're going to have people roll things up, maybe the equivalent level of what you're running right now, and just run this one-shot. And you're not making some epic commitment. You're not, I just saw this module, I really wanted to run it. I just want to be a GM, I just want to try this. Whatever it is, make sure that it's not some epic commitment. It's not something that's going to continue. Don't say, if we like this, I want to keep going. Don't fall into that trap. That would happen naturally. If the players come to you and say, hey, we want you to run, we liked that, then that's a whole other thing. Then you can go out and get a adventure path or something like that. The other thing about keeping it small means that it can end in a one-night session, and it gives kind of a completion to it, a finality, like we went through and did this scenario and 3 people died and 2 lived, or everybody lived, or whatever. We all got killed. You don't necessarily want that, although it can happen, right? But it's nice to have something that can be contained within one night session. And when we get to one of the other rules, you'll see if things aren't going that way, you could just go to the end of the session, the old convention 4-hour rule or whatever. Rule number 3 is to run a one-shot module that you find as opposed to coming up with something. Now, this is one of these things, because if you've never done it and you say, okay, I'm going to create a dungeon, 1 level, 10 rooms, that should be a, night's entertainment. Put some monsters in there and just say, oh, you're setting out, someone's been kidnapped and you got to go in here. Okay. But you may not, the things with balance, the things with, your descriptions of things or whatever, or, something about this, you're adding a burden. You're not keeping it simple. So find a module, read it, and see if you like it, and then just run that. And now that there are so many modules and there's such, a plethora, there's good ones, you can find reviews and whatnot, why not use that to your advantage? You're just trying to be a GM, you're just trying to get used to that. So run something that's pre-written. It takes that pressure off you. So keeping it simple means let someone else do all the work. Rule number 4 is to feel free to railroad if necessary. This relates back to my comment about the convention one-shot rule, where if the players aren't getting to somewhere and you want to complete the mission, you just advance them forward. But it's also like in a module, if the players are going and they're going in a different direction, you can literally, they're supposed to go down the hall to this room and they want to go here and it's not prepared, or however this module works. You can have the people in the other room come out and yell, or there's a fight down there or something, so that they go in that direction. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to learn how to be a GM, and learning how to be a GM and improvising off script can add some pressure. If you're halfway through the session, you're 2 hours in, and you feel like, I don't need to railroad, I don't need to do, I'm just going to let them go where they want to go, great. But if you feel that pang in your stomach, like this is not going, I'm not quite sure, you can just have something happen, and the players will just realize, they'll think it's part of the module, right? These guys came out, no, they're fighting. What the heck is that? And they'll go over there and do it. And again, you will see this sort of crowd control aspect. Again, typically you don't want to do this if you're running a homebrewed sandbox, because that is railroading or whatever. I mean, there's many examples of this, right? They didn't find something in the room. They didn't search for some critical thing. And they go along and there is this, because again, in this module, they must find the scepter of whatever. So you can just put it in another room, right? Because they've got to get this, right? What you're trying to do is you're trying to have this GM experience. You're trying to run, do the monsters, or, whatever opponents they have, describe the rooms, handle the action, make decisions about what's fair and what's not fair, because we all know those situations where it comes up and the rules don't quite cover it. So don't worry about, well, I want to play this straight up. If they don't do that, they didn't do that. Or if they don't go in this direction or that. Because you are trying to, this is your first time GMing. And when we get to the final rule, which will color all the others, you'll see how you can actually tell the players that in a way. You got to be careful there. I wouldn't do it right away. You can tell them afterwards, right? Because if you tell them, I had to put that thing there, they're sort of start to think, what else are you doing, right? Because players are going in thinking, there's this module that somebody made. We're just going to run through it, like a board game almost. Because they know this is the first time you GM'd. But again, you can play a little faster and looser with things this first time you're GMing. If you get into that feeling of uncertainty or whatever, don't be afraid to do that. And rule number 5, do your research. If you have a module, read it through. Because by being thoroughly prepared, the actual experience of being a GM is simplified. If I'm just handed a module 1 minute before we start playing, because everybody wants to play, I want to play this module, and they just give it to me. And I'm very experienced. It's a huge pain in my ass to sit there and try to run this without knowing what's going on. I got to sit there and read stuff while everyone's looking at me. That's not what you want. I don't want it after 40 years plus of this. If I'm going to run a module, I got to read it. And I read it through. And then look at the descriptions, and then literally you can practice. If you can do it, I can look at a description that's written, and I can paraphrase that description pretty well. I don't like to go, you see a room, there are many paintings on the wall, dust covered, you walk in and you see there's paintings on all the walls, and they're all covered in dust, and the floor is covered, save one area where there's tracks, that kind of thing, right? I'm not going to read that, I'm going to paraphrase, but I got to read it first. And I'm not going to go, you see paintings, I'm not going to come in the door and I just say, here's what you see. And that means you've got to read it and you've got to be prepared to describe these rooms. Now, if you're a first-time GM and you're running a module and you do that, you read everyone, people are going to say, well, okay, yeah, he just did that. I might be thinking, did he read this beforehand? Because I am taking my time out. The main GM isn't there this week. I could take a week off. I don't have to come, right? But I'm doing this because you said, hey, I want to try to run something my first time. And then you're over here going, oh, and I think, did you read this beforehand? That's interesting. Because you are taking on that responsibility of being a GM. And being a GM does mean to be prepared to run the session, right? There is prep work involved. You can get good enough where you can come in and improvise for a night. You really can, but it'll catch up to you if you keep doing it. Well, you sure don't want to do it in the first time you've ever GM'd. And then finally, rule 5.5, which covers all of them, is keep it light. Go and just say, we're going to have fun. This is the first time I'm doing this. The players will be helpful. They'll be willing. All those things I said about with you reading something or confused as to a ruling or trying to decide if something's fair. These are your friends. It's going to be just fine. And keep it light all the way. If things aren't working and you go, well, wait a minute. I just got to, let's for a second. What are you doing? What are you doing? But don't be like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you saying that? Don't go into that. Right? You'll be amazed how the impulse, especially if someone's pushing you or arguing something, just say, hey, let's be friendly and be light. All the different things that I mentioned, just keep that light at all times, which is also a corollary to keeping things simple. And my one last addendum to all of this is if you are a GM or you are a player and someone is running for the very first time, and you decide to criticize them or to snicker about what they're doing or to look bored, I hope that a hole opens up beneath you and you fall down in, and as your screams disappear into the bottomless pit, it seals back up, leaving no sign of it or your existence. Why is that? Because, my friend, you have broken the primal rule of GMs everywhere, which is one does not criticize a first-time GM. And as always, a shout out to all of my Patreon supporters. I've got a new knight that just joined the team. I'm so excited to continue to produce PDFs every week and an extra video. It's been a great time. And as always, I really appreciate your support. And if you like what you've seen, please subscribe. Leave a comment, a like, whatever. Love to hear about your first experience as being a GM. And as always, keep playing an RPG game, whichever one you choose. Tell somebody else about it.